All right, hey guys from inside the newsroom. Thanks for joining us today on Fox 5 Live. Happy Friday. It's June 8th, and we are all abuzz here in the newsroom and around the DMV area, of course, because the Caps have won the Stanley Cup, and finally there is a Washington, D.C. sports championship here. We're super excited. Lots of people rocking it today, kind of out there on the streets, recapping what happened last night. I was down in Chinatown, which was amazing last night to kind of see all the festivities and be in and around the arena. I didn't make it into the official watch party, but was at an outside sort of venue watching the game. And Iran, I know you're already on the stream and you're from Vegas and you've been with us for a long time, really loyal on our stream. Awesome to have you on, and thanks for the congratulations. Lots of respect to your Vegas Golden Knights. Guys, today is such an interesting day. It comes with a lot of also sad news in the news in general. We have a couple things coming down to us as far as live video. President Trump is in Quebec for the G7 summit. We have a live Gator attack watch right now in Florida. We're going to bring you down there in a little bit after we talk a little bit of sports and some sort of DC hyper-local news. But the sad news, of course, is the passing, and you see it in your headline, of renegade chef and really all-around bad boy Anthony Bourdain, who has died in an apparent suicide at the age of 61. He was found in his France hotel room by fellow chef Eric Repair. You might remember them kind of working in tandem if you guys follow his story, and just sort of his unconventional ways of being a chef and a writer and a traveler, of course hosting his own show for many, many years, and being very open about his problems and his past addictions. A raw character, really someone I think that is in the hearts of a lot of people that not only love food but love travel and love writing, just in all ways sort of an artist. And there's a lot of people kind of reacting to that. We're going to show you some of that reaction. But first, guys, let's talk about the Caps. T, you want to roll in here? Yeah. Let's talk about the Caps, because some of us were kind of down there. You're rocking your red today. Hey.
Got the red on.
Welcome. Thanks for coming on in. And so, guys, finally we're celebrating here in DC. Let me show you some of the official pictures and kind of videos from last night. Here we go. All right, so this was the final. So they won in Vegas, of course, but we were here in Washington, kind of watching, as were the ton of fans, yeah. Thousands of fans, 18,000 or so filling the arena. And you were down here, squeeze into the camp.
I was definitely downtown in DC, but then I left before the third period. I finished up the game in Maryland.
Oh, you did?
Yeah,
you made it back.
Yeah, I went back to College Park to watch the game.
Okay.
It definitely wasn't as live as DC was. Man, the streets were flooded.
They really were.
It was jam packed.
Mm-hmm.
But it feels great to have a championship.
There he is. It does. You've been here a long time.
I've been here my whole life. I haven't seen this before.
That's cool.
I guess I have when the Redskins won in like '94. But
okay, way back. You were little. You know, hey Juan, good to see you on. Thanks for jumping on.
Shout out to Iran, because I know he's you guys were, Las Vegas was a great, what do I want to say? A great
competitor.
Yeah, competitor. And
so cool. There's Ovi hoisting the cup, giving it a nice kiss. There was lots of emotional reaction in Vegas.
Man, he's been waiting forever for this.
Really? He's been here forever.
Yes, Alex Ovechkin has been waiting for so freaking long.
Yeah.
Like, I know, like, Mason Crosby has like so many Stanley Cup wins or whatever, and they like to compare the two. But shout out to Ovechkin, because these guys worked hard. Oshie, Backstrom, like I don't know many of the players, but the ones that I do, yeah, they definitely deserve it.
Yeah.
They worked hard for this one. And
so interesting.
Thank you for bringing a championship to DC.
Isn't that cool? It's really great for the community. You know, it's neat to see the fans come from really all over, because they're sort of the DMV team, right? Yep. So we got fans really coming in from deep into Virginia, Maryland, DC. It's cool for me. I've been here 10 years, so I do consider myself a Washingtonian now. And I feel sort of grandfathered into it, you know, so I'm really happy for the city, happy to celebrate. I have a little video too, see if I can show it, from my experience down there. Now, T, you were down in the thick of it as well, isn't that right?
Yes.
And we saw stuff like this. I'm going to show you this video. This is kind of just a short clip, but check it out. Let me see, make sure this is on repeat. All right. So we had some people like climbing up there we go, climbing up the poles, celebrating, taking selfies. I noticed, I mean, it was awesome to sort of see the vast, really the numbers of people that were down there. Yes. Chopper video showing the throngs of crowds, people in red lining the streets, and it was neat. I think in my experience, and talking about sort of the security behind it, I saw a lot of policemen kind of joining in, taking pictures, happy, kind of keeping an overarching eye, but not enforcing too much.
Yeah. So in what I saw from the overall experience, I guess, like during the first period, it was really chill. Everybody was having fun, you know. Police were not as strict, you know, but as the game was closing in, you know, second and third period, and it was the game was close. The final score was 4-3.
It was. I definitely was. There were some nerve-wracking moments for sure.
Yeah, the Golden Knights were up at one point, I think, in the third or
they were up.
Period,
they were up in the second, I think. Yep.
But when the second period came, I feel like police were a little more strict. They were telling people to come down, start coming down, you know. But you know, I'm glad that people were able to safely celebrate, and you know, nobody got hurt. Like we didn't have to hear about none of that.
Yeah, I'll say this, and just from my experience there, because it's some insider information. I was talking to some people after the celebrations, and we stayed well into the next morning, right, in that downtown DC area in Chinatown. I'll see if I can queue up a picture actually of that. I did hear from one fan that there was one sort of violent moment over by Capital One Arena where a beer bottle was thrown and it broke and it cut a girl so much that she was bleeding. Wow. There was some, and he was like, it was mayhem, you know, I wanted to get out of that area. That was the one story I heard, which is not good, but it does result in some, you know, a little bit of violence. Police Chief Peter Newsham did say this morning that there was one arrest, so he was proud of the classiness of the city.
Yes, that's another thing. I don't want to compare it to any other cities that, you know, that have had several championships before that, you know how this goes, but a lot of us don't know how to
That's right.
Like, you know, we just go out there, have fun, and it was supporters, like even people that don't watch hockey, you know, it's like people that just love DC sports.
Totally.
That just love the city, that just want to support. They were all out there.
Station just
kind of a cool picture here. I like branded it with the date just so we can remember it, but someone was hoisting a DC flag. And obviously that's actually the Chinatown Arch. It's like one of the it's sort of historical in a way, that archway, one of the longest or most ornate or something in Chinatowns across the nation. But somebody hoisting the DC flag right there, and you can see sort of the depth of the crowd in that shot. Tried to wipe off my lens to make sure that it was a little clear, but you can see the low buildings as DC is.
And the several blocks were packed.
Right.
Throughout the area.
Like,
just not like this is just a very, very small sample.
It is. And you had some footage. I didn't get to cue it up, but you had some people climbing.
We got some footage of
rallying,
stuff, screaming.
The reaction, it was good. It was really, really good. And like you said, you know, the city is new for the city, so we're excited for the city. You have a big tie here, of course. And overall, like I said, security and police said that it was a good time. Iran, you were mentioning that we're going to have fun with the victory festivities. So awesome. I know you guys would too, had you won also, because a brand new team. Vegas has the fanfare. They are the entertainment city. And I personally, I'm going to be one to say that I really respected their opening acts because I love entertainment and I love the theatrics. But that was me. And I know I was happy for DC's as well, bringing in some of the DC stars and speakers and stuff. So it was cool, but yeah, I think we are going to really enjoy it. News still to come about when that victory parade is going to be. I'm hoping it's a time where it's free for people to go, like people, you know, who are working it. Otherwise, we'll be covering it.
That'll bring so much money for the city. Like it's just
right.
If they have a decent,
it's
parade,
the clothes, it's the gear.
The gear, the merchandise, all of the, you know, just people coming to DC now. I feel like we're on the map now for hockey.
That's true. It's on the map for hockey. That's a good way to put it.
District of Columbia is there.
Really cool way to put it.
More aware of us now.
Yeah.
We are a force to be reckoned with.
And I really do have a deep respect for Alex Ovechkin, because I guess it goes back to the fact that when I came here, he was that young sort of star and he was kind of breaking out. He was new. He was, side note, he was at where I was celebrating my 23rd birthday, a little personal story, because it was like this Russian hangout. Anyway, it was cool because he was this new guy to the city. People were talking about him. So I knew who he was and his sort of the fandom surrounding him. And then he went through, you know, a series of different players and teammates. And now, you know, ultimately his quest has ended for the Stanley Cup. So it's cool.
Now on to another one, like DJ Khaled says. But it's great. I love that. That we finally won something big, you know. We won the big game. DC won the big game.
It's great, man. I love it.
It's a good feeling.
It is.
You know,
people are happy today. You know, minus some of the tragic news that's coming our way, but it's nice to kind of have this as a coming together.
And you know, DC is also hosting the 2018
All-Star game.
All-Star game.
So
All-Star
that is going to be huge.
Baseball, MLB. So
July.
Be aware of the Nationals. We might be winning the Major League Baseball.
You know, that is huge. That's also going to bring a ton of fans and people and money to the city. It's a big summer.
I feel like yeah,
it's a big summer.
Is a great year for the district.
Let's hope that can kind of continue, and the Nats can do just as well.
The Nats will do well. Look, hockey's over. The World Cup's going to start soon. I think it starts today, actually.
It's coming up. Yep, it is. It's going to be on Fox. Bummer about the U.S. men's team, but, you know, we're going to be watching for the
football, and then, you know, before you know it, it'll be football season again. I can't wait.
Very excited. That's our fave.
Yes,
I know. We love it. But it's funny, right? Because people are kind of coming out, and you're seeing sort of the hockey crowd, and that fan base is vast. It's big. It's people from all over. It's awesome. Football's a little more honed in, I feel, because everyone has their cities. You know, even Philadelphia and Pittsburgh. Pennsylvania has two.
But you know, if the Redskins were to win, I'd probably celebrate too, even though
true.
I'm a rival
Good
team.
point.
It's just great to be here.
Good point.
Know,
I feel the energy, enjoy it. We're happy for DC, and DC is full a lot of transplants, so people kind of come and they, you know, join in on the team happiness and the fan base, or you know, they still have their home team at home, but they, you know, are just happy for DC as a city. So it's an interesting city when it comes to sports like that. Aaron's saying, I love this, so true. We have enough parties already in Vegas. We don't need them. We have them 24/7. DC deserves to be celebrated, and that's aptly put.
And we did so.
I
think DC celebrated.
Wish I had more footage. Yeah, we had we took a few videos of just people sort of cheering and chanting. It wasn't too out crazy. It wasn't nuts.
Look,
it was calm.
Compared to like when the Eagles won,
I know.
We're pretty classy, man.
I want to bring in some Philadelphia people. Do we have any people we can talk to? Because DC is different.
Yes,
it is different.
We didn't require Crisco oiling the poles or nothing. You know,
that was interesting.
We're cool.
And that's the thing. They go back to a past of, you know, winning for different sports, so they kind of know how their fans react. This was a brand new scenario. I think the police chief was happy. The top officials and general security was happy with how people reacted, and it was a good outcome. People were generally safe and good, and you know, we're happy. So
man,
what a day!
Shout out to DC, man. Shout out. Round of applause.
Yeah, let's give it. I want our newsroom to join in. Our newsroom is quiet because people are dispatched on what they're covering today. That includes the Caps returning from Vegas, from where you are on their plane, and we're going to have some coverage of that later in the afternoon. We'll be posting that live stream on our Facebook page, and we're going to be kind of monitoring that. I know we're going to send someone, and just be ready for that if you want to catch that. Our Facebook page is Fox 5 DC, and we may even stream it on Twitter. I don't know, but double check our social media sites for that. YouTube today, we're going to continue on with a live show of whatever streams are coming in, live video, breaking news. But that was a little bit about the game, and I hope those pictures kind of at least summed up a little bit about what we experienced here. It was super fun.
I will definitely be buying the next NHL game to come out on PlayStation 4.
Oh yeah, the NHL games. People 19. Love that stuff. You know, people get revved up and they say, I want to, you know, get more into that gaming world, and I want to get NHL now. So
well, we've had this discussion before.
We have.
We've had NHL since like
when we were kids.
Back, yeah.
I know.
2001 for the PC.
Yep.
So.
Let's make this a little smaller.
Peter Bonger.
Yeah, right. So as you guys know, a little discussion there. I didn't want to be remiss and miss some of the other news that we're talking about right now. A live Gator search. This is crazy. What I'm reading is that they're searching for the woman here who has apparently been possibly attacked by this gator in Davie, Florida. This is the live cam right now, the chopper video. Police are searching for this woman who may have been attacked. They responded to this after a witness reported seeing a woman being dragged into a lake. Can you believe that? I believe, obviously, this is the lake. This is the aerial footage. And the witness said this woman was walking her dog when she was grabbed by the alligator. This is according to that witness. Police are responding to it. They said they found a dog on the leash, but they could not find its owner. Isn't that scary? Now, earlier we had a little bit more of a clear picture with some women in women and men who looked to be officials or wildlife sort of aficionados searching for this scenario, this woman. Unfortunately, those pictures have now left us, and we have this. But if our chopper can hone in, this would be nice to kind of see how they go about this search. You know, we're not really used to this up here, so this is more of a Everglades, New Orleans, Florida thing. What do you make of this, T?
Well, it's definitely something to be cautious about. I'm glad that we don't have to worry about gators, but I think people in Florida should definitely know about
what's going on.
I've been to the Everglades actually twice in my lifetime, on like family.
Really?
Yeah. So I even have had alligator meat before.
Oh yeah, same actually.
Yeah,
it's yummy.
It was like fried alligator.
It's a nice protein, right? Big down there too.
But those can be some scary reptiles, some scary creatures.
Agree.
Like up close.
Totally.
And they always look like they're sleeping too, so you can't really. They like to hide.
That is what's so scary about this, guys. And also, like I said, remember this is raw, unedited video, so just be mindful of that as you watch with discretion. But one of the scary points of this, I think, is that this woman was sort of the target. She was possibly dragged by this alligator, but the dog was found. So the dog, wasn't necessarily attacked. It was this human, this woman who sort of has, the faculties to be aware and think and breathe and hopefully run away. But the fact that these animals are so powerful, these reptiles, It
almost looks like clear water. I feel like maybe like you can even swim in there. But you wouldn't want to.
It does look clearer than I thought, like for the murky kind of Florida waters or where a gator would be hanging out.
It doesn't necessarily, exactly.
I guess, again, we're not so knowledgeable of it, but...
Almost looks like a lake that you can...
Yeah, and as we look on a map for where this actually is, guys, let's see here. It's north of Miami. So really not deep down into the Gulf of the Everglades. It's really it's north of Miami. And I believe this is coverage from our station in Tampa, Fox 13 in Tampa, getting this chopper video. So sort of, yeah, it is, outside of the Everglades actually, but not like deep down where I was imagining it.
I hope she's all right.
I know, totally. This is scary. So we're going to monitor this, guys, and kind of keep you here for just a second. I know, they're honing in on something.
Or I'm trying to see.
Quite scary.
But I don't see anything. It looks like clear water almost.
Mm-hmm.
Like maybe rocks, leaves. I see some coral reefs, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. Can't quite tell, but
and
really
it's a little
scary.
darker there, or maybe that's just the shadow from the tree.
Possibly. I think so. I don't think it's anything else. I think, gosh, yeah, it is quite scary. So for those of you just joining us, chopper video right now from our sister station down in Florida, north of Miami. This is Davie, Florida. They're searching for a woman who reportedly may have been dragged into this body of water by an alligator. We see sort of alligator watches and scenes of alligator happenings, but not necessarily stuff like this. So remember, this is raw video that we don't know really where it's going to go, what's going to happen, what they're going to see, but we do hope the woman is all right. This is quite scary.
Yes.
Yeah, pretty intense video right here. I guess we'll leave you here with this for now, guys. We'll talk a little bit more later about some of the other stuff that's going on. I have a few packages to show you, some stories and scenes from the protests outside the G7 summit where President Trump is, and some other news on the political front as well, an update to the Guatemala volcano situation, and some reaction to celebrity chef Anthony Bourdain's death. Reported this morning. I'll tell you, I was just gutted by that. A lot of reaction from that. A lot of people who are fans speaking out and tweeting out their support and their sympathy, including notable chefs who were friends and competitors in a sense with Bourdain. And actually one quote that was one of my favorites, quickly before we come back to the attack, I just want to show you this quote, see if I can find it. Man, so many people posting about this, but a friend of mine posted this one. And I love this because it really does sum up what Anthony was all about. In an interview with NPR in 2016, he made it clear that the work he does isn't journalism. It was the questions that reporters ask made people tighten up, he said. If you sit down with people and just say, hey, what makes you happy? and what do you like to eat? Then they'll tell you extraordinary things, many of which have nothing to do with food. And that's what he kind of was all about, is the experience, connecting human beings, human connection, being raw, being open about your problems and your past and your addictions and your lives, and then letting food bring you together. So, gosh, that was one of the things I loved the most about him. I think it's going to be a weekend of sort of mourning, really, for that culinary kind of food community, and really for the world at large that was embracing of his sort of way of life, I guess you could say, and travel, and bringing together of human beings and bringing together of cultures and races as we do this. He was a big supporter of the Me Too movement as well. I know he and his recent but long-standing, I believe, girlfriend was big in that movement. And he even recently tweeted Harvey Weinstein's perp walk. So when that all happened, he was talking about it and tweeting about it, and happy to see it when things were coming out about that. So a lot of interesting implications on the community for this. So we'll show you some of that reaction coming up. But for now, let's check back in. Go Caps. Happy for DC.
Yeah.
Happy to move forward into the next sport that we're watching, I guess the Nationals.
Such a juxtaposition of feelings.
It is. It really, really is. I'm telling you, I was hit in the gut today because I was emotional about last night, super thrilled to be out there in the crowds. You were too. And then to get this news. I'm telling you, and people knew to send it to people like me who are, and others in here who are affected by it and interested in it. But yeah, it's like the total dichotomy of emotion. So if you guys have any thoughts on that, do let us know. You can talk to us and we can commiserate together. Let's go back to this Gator watch, though. This is a pretty thrilling video. We're going to let you watch this. And again, it is unedited, so viewer discretion advised at this Gator attack video. We're going to leave it right here and see what happens.
On the shoreline is over here. Back to the east about 60 yards, 50 yards. Yes, yeah, white blouse, green trousers. Yeah, I don't know whether it's you know, like maybe there you go. Yeah, we've all got that Discovery Channel episode that we watched.
Okay, guys, as we bring this footage of the aerials of the Gator attack to you, I'm also going to split screen it with President Trump arriving in Canada, so we can take a look at what if he has anything to say or do anything when he comes off of Marine One. I believe we're just getting in this helicopter pad shot. I'm going to bring you both on your screen, so you can kind of stay here. We'll keep this volume up, listen in case they find anything, and then also check into the President arriving in Canada.
Okay. Let's slide over to the north side and show the activity on the south shore. Anywhere in here is fine. Okay.
Protests outside the G7 summit. Hundreds of demonstrators gathering in Quebec City ahead of the meeting of 7 world leaders, including President Donald Trump. The protesters are a coalition of different groups. They're opposing racism, capitalism, colonialism, and other issues. Demonstrations started with a peaceful march to the venue, followed by a die-in. Officials say there were a few minor scuffles leading to some arrests. Meantime, President Trump is optimistic about the annual event, speaking alongside the Japanese Prime Minister at the White House Thursday.
We'll have some pretty good discussions, very exciting, and I think a lot of good results can come about.
The White House has announced plans for President Trump to leave the summit early. He'll travel to Singapore in advance of next week's summit with North Korea. No matter what comes out of those discussions, the president recognizes an in-person meeting of U.S. and North Korean leaders is a long time coming.
I think I've been preparing for the summit for a long time, as has the other side. I think they've been preparing for a long time also. So this isn't a question of preparation.
An aide will take the president's place Saturday for G7 talks on climate change and the environment. Some of the early G7 meetings are expected to be tense. This week, the president lashed out at the Canadian and French leaders on Twitter over trade and tariff disputes. In New York, Jackie Ibanez, Fox News.
More than 100 dead and thousands displaced, and conditions just keep getting worse near Guatemala's volcano of fire. Search and rescue efforts were suspended late Thursday due to rough weather and a big surge in the amount of lava flowing from the volcano. More than 10,000 people living in temporary shelters as they wait for conditions to improve.
We're staying by their side day and night. People spent the night on the floor at first, then sheets were distributed. Then we received mattresses, and some even had folding beds.
The Red Cross and other aid groups ramping up their efforts to help the victims. Experts say the tragedy could be extended if there's not a significant long-term recovery effort to help people get back on their feet once the lava stops flowing.
More than 1 million are affected by the eruption, and many of them lost everything, lost their livelihood especially. So our commitment is to support those people.
Meanwhile, friends and relatives are still coming to terms with their losses as funerals for the victims get underway. But many say they're determined to stay in the area and rebuild their lives.
I lost my mom and all my relatives. It is extremely painful for us, but I must be strong and live on with courage.
Hope and unity still exists in the face of this predicament. People have faith in this.
Guatemalan officials say this volcano is still extremely active, warning people to stay away from evacuation zones until the red alert is lifted. In Atlanta, Jonathan Seri, Fox News.
On March 3rd, Alicia received the letter she had been dreading.
For right now, we just aren't looking for more milk.
Dean Foods had given notice. The company decided to end contracts with more than 100 farms across 8 states due to a surplus of milk. Alicia was one of them. Given only 3 months to find a new contract, she and her husband prepared for the worst.
We also have to be able to sell our milk in order to pay the feed bill, in order to be able to pay the vet for their services, and any other debt payments, mortgages, stuff like that.
The dairy industry has seen several years of low sales, prices dropping rapidly due to low consumption and new replacements offering more flavor and less fat. Since the milk boom in 2014, prices have dropped from about $24 to a projected $15 in 2018.
I was appalled when I looked at the numbers. Milk per capita consumption of fluid milk is down 9.7% in the last 5 years. Ice cream consumption is down 3.3%. People are just not consuming milk.
According to the professor, dairy farms in New York, Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania are searching for alternative cash flows like crops, cattle, beef, or bison.
If we would not have gotten a market, we would have sold our farm and had to exit not only the dairy industry, but also exit our house, our home.
Alicia isn't alone. In Pennsylvania, there are 6,570 dairy farms. That's down by 80 since last year and more than 800 since 2010.
The reality of it is these individuals, dairy is what they've known, dairy is what they've done, and and to transition to something else is a major change for the family.
Representative Zimmerman says his region has been hit hard due to several factors outside of the national crisis, like higher real estate, less processing plants, and smaller farms, forcing generational farmers in PA to question their future.
It's a tough industry.
In Lebanon, Pennsylvania, Taya Kirkland, Fox News.
What does 50,000 pounds of illegal fireworks look like? These are some of the photos CAL FIRE made available to the media to announce one of the largest seizures of illegal fireworks in the state's history recently.
We were surprised at the volume of fireworks that we seized from the location. 25 tons is a significant quantity of fireworks.
A total of 7 arrests were made in what is being described as a large-scale illegal firework ring, with the product being driven across the state's border from Montana and Nevada to warehouses in Northern California, then distributed from there.
In addition to the fireworks, officers seized over $115,000 in cash, as well as a variety of computers, cell phones, and other personal items.
Today's announcement is a huge win for local law enforcement from the simple standpoint that the use and sale of illegal fireworks has skyrocketed in recent years in California.
That means fewer fires, fewer injuries, fewer deaths, less property damage, and less impact to the environment, including air pollution.
We just went through the most catastrophic wildfire season in the state's history. And our communities are at risk, and we know that. So we're going to be vigilant like an eagle this 4th of July out there and making sure that people are safe.
The initial investigation began back in 2016 as a result of an anonymous tip, and ultimately involved more than 80 officers working the case.
Investigation involved significant surveillance operations over that 3-year period, ultimately leading to enough probable cause for us to acquire search warrants, serve those search warrants, and then seize the 25 tons of fireworks that you see behind me.
What does 50,000 pounds of illegal fireworks?
An Arizona man physically beaten by police struggles to speak about the incident.
I'm sorry, I'm trying to build up enough courage for this.
Robert Johnson was overcome with emotion during his first news conference Thursday. It was a few weeks ago that he was pummeled by Mesa police, repeatedly hit in the head, kicked and thrown against the floor of an apartment complex.
I'm a family man. I'm a God-fearing person. I just want things to be, I want Mesa to be held accountable for what they have done.
Johnson was with a friend who was allegedly trying to enter his ex-girlfriend's apartment. She called 911, and after detaining the friend, responding officers turned their focus to Johnson. Surveillance video shows police searching him and finding no weapon. Officers say they told Johnson to sit down. Instead, he just leaned against the wall, deemed threatening body language, according to police. The official report reads, quote, "It appeared Johnson was trying not to sit down in order to retain a position of physical advantage by remaining on his feet."
Once you've been instructed to sit down, the proper amount of force is to ask again. It is not one strike and you're done.
3 officers and a sergeant have been placed on leave. Johnson's team says their pursuit of justice is about preventing similar incidents in the future. Police asked the public to remember the context of the incident, how they had been called out to a domestic dispute. In Phoenix, Charlie LaPastora, Fox News.
President Trump is heading to Canada today for the G7 summit, and while that may entail some real drama about new U.S. tariffs, the president plans on ducking out early to begin his journey to Singapore. Singapore is getting ready, security and all, with a local entrepreneur touting this summit as El Gringo versus El Hombre, complete with matching tacos. But beyond the symbols, what will be the substance? President Trump in the Oval Office yesterday played down some of the legwork.
I think I'm very well prepared. I don't think I have to prepare very much. It's about attitude. It's about willingness to get things done. But I think I've been preparing for the summit for a long time, as has the other side. I think they've been preparing for a long time also.
The president getting some last-minute advice from Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe at the White House, even holding out the possibility that North Korea's Kim Jong-un could eventually visit the U.S.
Sir, if you do invite him to the White House, or to the United States, would it be here at the White House or at Mar-a-Lago?
Maybe we'll start with the White House. What do you think?
Well, we know what Secretary of State Mike Pompeo thinks, that North Korea must give up its nukes.
The complete, verifiable, and irreversible denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula is the only outcome that we will find acceptable.
But even the president is trying to temper expectations, saying Singapore is just the start. And the wild card in this is Kim and what his regime is really seeking.
What do they want? Are they just using Trump as a prop to stand next to? And how do we know what they want coming out of the meeting?
But the president will have to sell a deal to more than just North Korea. There are skeptics here at home who think he may be so hungry to strike some kind of a bargain that he may give up too much in the process. In Washington, Doug Luzader, Fox News. And
as flames engulfed part of a fourplex on East Yorkshire Drive in Stockton a little after midnight on Sunday, an unlikely hero made sure everyone got out safely.
Is you scared?
8-month-old pit bull Sasha helped warn Nana Chaichanda that the fire was next door by banging on the backyard door.
I open it and she runs in and starts barking at me like crazy, and I was like, okay, this is weird. This is not her.
Nana quickly noticed her cousin's building was on fire and raced into the bedroom to grab her 7-month-old daughter when she saw Sasha by her.
She had already had my baby by the diaper and was like dragging her off the bed, and I was like, oh my gosh, what are you doing?
Fire crews responded within minutes of the initial 911 call. Though the flames only reached her attic, Nana's home is now unlivable. Her cousin was not home at the time of the fire. Nana and her cousin are now staying with their aunts that also live in the fourplex. As they try to start over after losing their homes, Nana is thankful for her pup's heroics and hopes it changes people's views of pit bulls as family pets.
It meant a lot. Like, I owe her everything. If it wasn't for her, I probably wouldn't have known. I would have still been in bed, and things could have took a worse turn.
Nana said it was one of the rare nights where she left Sasha outside, and it likely ended up being the reason everyone made it out alive.
It's got to be the cutest deposit ever dropped off in a porta potty.
He's stunning, and he's so super sweet.
He's a 1-year-old Australian cattle and Catahoula mix who has had to deal with a lot of crap during his short life.
I couldn't sleep last night just trying to think of why somebody would do this, what was the purpose behind it.
The dog was put into a plastic bin, then the bin was dropped inside this smelly stool sauna in Grant County.
It's a hot box. It's hot. To me, it's absolutely no different than leaving a dog or a child in a hot car, all closed up. He had no way out.
Heart Animal Rescue tells us the workers who found the dog aren't happy. The county shelter is upset, and the vets certainly aren't pleased that the dog also was left with a badly fractured hind leg.
With the amount of the fracture that we're seeing here, trauma, it's going to be probably the first consideration, like hit by car or direct injury to the dog, like kicking him.
It was completely overlapped, completely broken.
Left with a psychological fracture are the dog's new caregivers, who are still trying to wrap their heads around someone doing to Gentry.
18-year-old Riley McCoy was born with this disease, xeroderma pigmentosum, or XP. The disease makes sunlight damaging, even deadly. And so her mother wanted her to graduate indoors in a special ceremony, but Riley said no. Dana Hill's high school class of 2018, a big day for Annie Sr., but a particularly big day for 18-year-old Riley McCoy. She'll put on this special hood in order to participate in the graduation ceremony.
For Riley, if she gets any kind of ultraviolet light, even shade, she will get third-degree burns that will eventually become cancer, skin cancer. This protects her from the sun, and it also allows her not to overheat by having some air in here.
This is exactly how Riley wanted to end her time in high school, among friends, and for a few minutes out in the sun like everyone else. She even wrote a song about it.
I'm so grateful for the people surrounding me. I don't want it to end. I want to make memories.
Her moment in the sun came as the last few names were called. After waiting indoors, she finally emerged to take a golf cart ride to the field. And then?
Happy that I'm graduating, but also sad that I'm leaving the school and leaving all my friends and everything.
The graduation ceremony caps a big year for Riley.
Riley McCoy!
Last September, she was crowned homecoming queen. Fox 11 News was with her as she got dolled up. Then she had her everyday hood, which protects her, but it's difficult to see. These are special moments for a special girl. The chance of being born with xeroderma pigmentosum, or XP, is 1 in a million. Her particular type of XP has diminished her hearing, her IQ, her coordination. Like most high school graduates, she looks forward to the future.
I'm going to go to Saddleback.
You are?
And I'm going to major in theater.
Long term, the disease will continue to rob Riley of her bodily functions, even if she avoids the sun. So why is her family so public about her XP? It's because they're hoping the attention will bring more research dollars to the disease and perhaps a cure. In Dana Point, Susan Hirasuna, Fox 11 News.
Live video here, guys, of President Trump arriving at the G7 summit in Quebec, Canada. You can see just that beautiful view right there. A few lawmakers arriving ahead of him, Justin Trudeau, Prime Minister of Canada, and the French president as well, there with his wife. So we're going to keep you here to kind of catch this view, but also bring up to you a little video from earlier this morning. President Trump had a few words for the media ahead of boarding his plane boarding Marine One to get to the summit. So he took a few questions outside of the White House. We're going to bring you that in a double screen.
I would only do a deal if I get it through Congress. I wouldn't do like Obama did. And fortunately, he wasn't able to get it through. He tried to get it through, the Iran deal. He tried to get it through Congress, failed. So he just did it without, which is why I was able to break it up so easy. And Iran is now a different country. They're not looking to the Mediterranean anymore. Iran is now a much different country. Since I signed that out, Iran is a much different country. I really do. I support Senator Gardner. I know exactly what he's doing. We're looking at it. But I probably will end up supporting that, yes. First Lady is great, right there. She has to, and she wanted to go. Can't fly for 1 month, the doctors say. She had a big operation. That was close to a 4-hour operation, and she's doing great. I mean, right there. And you know what? She is a great First Lady. Terrible. We'll be talking to him, but that's terrible. Okay, any other questions? Was one of my lawyers. Incredible that you can break into a lawyer's office. That's one thing I can say. And I think that was unfortunate that they broke into a lawyer's office. It's not a good practice. Well, the Democrats, this is a Democrat bill. The Democrats can end that very quickly. All they have to do is sit down with us and negotiate a real bill that allows us to keep criminals out of this country. It's very easy. You know, Schumer is a guy, he complains, but he doesn't do anything. Schumer's a guy who is an obstructor. He can't do anything. All he can do is obstruct. All they have to do is call us, and we'll draw a bill that gives us great border safety and security and is fair. Because I don't like the children being separated from the parents. I don't like it. I hate it. But that's a Democrat bill that we're enforcing. We can change it in one day. All they have to do is come and see us. I can't hear your question, darling. Too much competition. Go ahead. No, you're not prepared. I can't believe she's not prepared. See, they're shocked, right? We'll bring it up. Yeah, we'll bring it up. I have work. I have about 15 boxes of work. I will be able to work without being bothered by phone calls where you people are writing fake stories about me and we have to respond. Now, seriously, I mean, I have a lot of work that's on the plane, so that'll be good.
Are you worried at all about the things that Rudy's saying in Israel? Is it giving you any headaches?
Look, Rudy's great, but Rudy is Rudy. But Rudy is doing a very good job, actually. Doing a very good job. He said what? I'm not going to disagree with him on that. I can't hear a word he's saying. No, he wasn't, but I like Dennis. A great rebounder. You know, when you think Dennis was a great rebounder and he wasn't, relatively speaking, that tall. So that tells you, you know, there's a rebounding, there's a genius for that. Dennis Rodman was a great rebounder. One thing we are thinking about, speaking of sports stars, the power to pardon is a beautiful thing. You got to get it right. You got to get the right people. I am looking at Muhammad Ali, but those are the famous people. And in one way, it's easier and people find it fascinating, but I want to do people that are unfairly treated, like an Alice where she comes out and there's something beautiful. What I'm thinking to do, you have a lot of people in the NFL in particular, but in sports leagues, they're not proud enough to stand for our national anthem. I don't like that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to say to them, instead of talk, it's all talk, talk, talk. We have a great country. You should stand for our national anthem. You shouldn't go in a locker room when our national anthem is played. I am going to ask all of those people to recommend to me, because that's what they're protesting, people that they think were unfairly treated by the justice system. And I understand that. And I'm going to ask them to recommend to me people that were unfairly treated, friends of theirs or people that they know about. And I'm going to take a look at those applications. And if I find, and my committee finds that they're unfairly treated, then we will pardon them or at least let them out. You know, I don't have to do that. I'm not looking to grandstand. We got enough grandstanders in this town. I'm just saying for the leagues, if they have people, if the players, if the athletes have friends of theirs or people that they know about that have been unfairly treated by the system, let me know. Well, you know, if you think about it, that becomes celebrity advocates. But they know a lot of things that we're not going to know. They've seen a lot of abuse and they've seen a lot of unfairness. So if they have, how do you like that idea, David? Oh, no, I have the absolute right. I don't have to do it. Never did anything wrong. And you know that better than anybody. I think you have a double edge. Reporters can't leak. You cannot leak classified information. At the same time, we need freedom of the press. But you cannot leak. Like Hillary Clinton did, like Comey did, you cannot leak classified information. If you look at the young sailor, Saucier, I mean, he went to jail over not classified, a much lower level. And it's very unfair that he goes to jail and that Comey's allowed to do it all over. It's very unfair. Thank you much. I'll see you in Canada.
All right, guys, so those were President Trump's words to the media before he aborted Marine One off to Canada today. Unfortunately, our stream in Quebec has dropped, so I don't have that video right now, but we'll check in there a little bit later if we do have that come up on Fox 5 Live here today. Switching gears totally, you guys remember alleged shooter Nikolas Cruz down in Florida. He had a date with the court today. It was his confession hearing, and attorneys for Cruz actually have asked a judge to block the release of parts of what police are calling his confession. So it's an interesting little part of this case, and we had a look inside that courtroom today. I want to bring that up for you. This was just a few moments ago. See if you can listen in to see what happened. You get a good shot of, like I said, the suspected gunman, Nikolas Cruz. He's there with his lawyers, and we don't see him appear in courts so very often. So when we do, these are interesting to listen into. So this happened just a few moments ago in Florida. Take a look.
And let me just say this, I didn't mean to exclude anybody from the media just as I'm coming into this, and I took the lead on this particular motion, so it might have been my problem in not knowing. But just a couple of things. One is I just want to make sure the court knows, and I've spoken to Mr. Marcus, I've spoken to Mr. Klinger about it, we are not asking that the court enjoy, I don't think the state is intending to release the entire statement.
That's what I gathered.
Okay. And it's always been represented to me that they were going to do their best efforts to comply with the public records laws, which they have a responsibility under. The issue really pertains to two things. One is, what is the definition of a confession, so that we, as far as the redaction goes. And the second thing is there are some other portions of the statement which I think draw some interest. The second thing I want the court to know is I'm not asking the court to make a decision today. I had seen that in the response, the state indicated that the defense didn't file any supporting the case law. I do have a memorandum of the law. I was going to include it in there, but this was really more or less just to put a stake in the ground because Ms. McCann had told me and Mr. Marcus had told me that the material was going to way. So very succinct. As to going to go through it, and they are going to determine what they think is confessionary as the law mandates that. I'm assuming that some of it we would agree on. I think that I've just filed the motion because the defense wants a seat at the table, not asking the court to necessarily take it back and for you to decide. It could be a situation where at least we have some say so. I can sit down with the state and we could agree to disagree. My concern is that they might say this much is exempt, or this much is confession, and we might say this much. Good detective, homicide detective is doing to eliminate the possibility of the defense of So I think the issues are that one is I know it's somewhat anathema for the state to say, well, the defendant should be heard on what would be released. I would suggest that the state do its redaction. If they would submit a copy to the court and submit a copy to us, and then we can just take it from there. We may agree. On the second issue about the un-Mirandized portion, we probably will need some full briefing on it. But I would suggest that the court does have the authority to keep certain parts confidential in the interest of justice. And I guess it's a question of how likely is it that if it was disseminated, that it becomes part of the public narrative and you can't put the barn back in the door or the horse to it.
I obviously haven't viewed the statement or read the transcript. It's difficult for me to understand which portions you're concerned about without having read it. And I think both sides are agreeing that the court could have an in-camera review of it.
Yeah, that's correct.
Right. If both sides are agreeing to that, I think that would be the first step, because perhaps I'm going to view it and say all the substantive portions are out. And then that would be that, perhaps. But State, I have a question. Is there any case law that defines, I mean, obviously I know what substantive abortions are, but I was thinking about this yesterday after you filed with your response, thinking all the different things that could or could not be, may or may not be substantive.
There's case law that talks about the substance of a confession, but as you know, in the statute itself, it is not defined.
Right.
There is an Attorney General's opinion that was issued in 1984. It's called an advisory legal opinion, AGO 84-33, where the Attorney General's office advised that until determined otherwise judicially or legislatively, the substance of a confession is defined as the material parts of a statement made by a person charged with the commission of a crime in which he or she acknowledges guilt of the essential elements of the act or acts constituting the entire criminal offense. I have not seen any cases.
I looked yesterday, I couldn't find anything.
And I have not either. I've seen the courts mention, there's a case recently from Miami Herald Media Company versus State, 218 Southern 3rd, 460, where the court talks about, the appellate court talks about that the circuit court went ahead and reviewed the confession to take out this, to make sure that the substance of the confession, reviewed the statement to make sure that the substance of the confession was taken out. And there are
permitted. That was okay.
Yes,
According to the third DCA.
Yes, it was. So, and maybe the media interveners will shed more light on this. However, you know, at this point, we are operating under the definition given in the Attorney General's opinion.
Okay, that helps.
And I would agree. I thought there was a case that I cited that did talk about it. If I can find that, I'll forward it to the court.
You mean the definition of substance?
That tried to give some meaning to the substance of what a confession was. But essentially it says it's the defendant's admission to the acts and his participation in the acts. So it's a little vague, but there is some guidance.
Would the court like a copy of the Attorney General?
I would. That would be helpful. Thank you.
May I approach?
Sure.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Anything else for today?
That's it.
I'm going to defer ruling. I'm going to allow the media to be heard and state. I would just ask that that you not release it yet, and that if both sides are agreeing, that you provide the court, you know, when you have it completed, the original and then the redacted copy. I'll review it in conjunction with the Attorney General's opinion, and then I will either rule or I'll set another hearing, or ask for you all to supplement your argument with some case law.
Okay. Your Honor,
Sure.
I could have the transcript itself to you by either late this afternoon or early Monday morning. I can certainly give you the unredacted copy this afternoon. I may well have the redacted copy finished this afternoon. The video would be maybe Monday or Tuesday.
Sure. I think that I would have to vote in order to see if we take it out, right?
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know another way around that.
No.
How long is it?
It's 200 pages. Well, the transcript is over 200 pages, and the video begins approximately maybe between 6 and 7 in the evening, and it actually ends around 6 to 7 in the morning. Not that there's conversation going on throughout that time.
Okay, I understand.
But there were redactions that needed to be made during when conversation was made, and there are actually a few redactions that had to be made when there was not conversation.
Okay, so why don't you go ahead and at least get me the unredacted copy so that I can start reviewing it, because it's so long. Try to review it over the weekend.
Is it permissible for us to get a copy of the redacted copy as well, so that we can look at it? I mean, we already have the unredacted copy, so it's not a breach of confidentiality. It's just a question.
I would prefer just giving that to the court at this time.
You mean initially or ultimately?
Well, I mean initially, so that we can know what it is that the state. I mean, eventually we're probably going to have to get it anyway. I would imagine that what's going to happen is the court's going to get it, look at it. You could say, I've looked at what the law is on confession. I completely agree with this, but I would assume the court's going to want to hear from the defendant at some point, which means we'd have to look at it anyway.
What happened in the third DCA case?
Well, in the third DCA case, it just said that the court had reviewed the confession.
Has the court signed off on it, or?
Yes, but I don't believe, and I'd have to reread the opinion whether or not it said that both parties had seen it prior to.
Well, I think the whole point of in camera is that I review it myself, right?
Right.
So I'm going to deny that request initially until I have a chance to review the information.
Thank you.
Susan, you want to be heard?
Thank you, Your Honor. My name is Dana McElroy. I'm here on behalf of the Associated Press, CNN, Dow Jones, Gannett, Gatehouse Media, the Los Angeles Times, McClatchy Company, which is the Miami Herald, Orlando Sentinel, Tagna, Sunday Television, a quite lengthy list. And thank you for the opportunity to speak to the court today. I'll be very brief. Sure. We did receive the public defender's motion for protective order. We have had a chance, I've had a chance, I'm sorry, I don't know, Ms. Loveland wants to introduce herself as well.
Good morning, Your Honor. Allison Loveland here, also on behalf of the media, and I just want to list the media for the record.
Sure.
ALM Media, ABC, CBS Broadcasting, Charter Communications, Fox Television, Oregon Television, Graham Media Group, NBC Universal, Scripps, Univision, WFTV, and WPLG.
Thank you. Sorry, we agree with the state attorney's position on the public records law. As stated, that the public records law requires the substance of a confession to be redacted prior to a document being a public record is subject to disclosure by the state attorney's office once it's required to be given to the defense. We also agree that the court should look at it in camera and make that determination. In terms of the Sixth Amendment fair trial rights, they bump up against the First Amendment right of access of the public in virtually every high-profile case. And I'm sure we'll go through this a number of times in this case. But in Florida, there is case law, which I'll provide to the court now, that provides that in order to shield a judicial public record, like discovery in a criminal case, that the court must find, after an evidentiary, either a proffer or a hearing, preferably that the party seeking closure or to seal even a portion of the record must meet a three-part test that basically provides that each factor must be met. The factors quickly are that restricting access is necessary to prevent a serious and imminent threat to the administration of justice, that no alternatives other than a change of venue would protect the defendant's right to a fair trial, and that closure would be effective in protecting the rights of the accused without being broader than necessary.
I'm sorry, but this is the same case law that pertains to having a closed hearing.
Correct.
I'm quite familiar with. Oh, because there's only about 10 cases on point from Florida that are recent.
Yes, Your Honor, the case law is very clear. I just wanted to get that out of the way.
No problem. You can go ahead and cite whatever you would like, because maybe there's a case I haven't read.
Well, what I think might be useful to shortcut that is that I do have several cases. First, on the test itself, I know the public defender said they're going to brief the issues. We also, as well, would like a chance to respond and have faced these motions in the past. I would just say that a lot of information has been released in this case already, and that bears against sealing, weighs against sealing of any kind. But I do have several cases, if I may approach. Sure. Times Publishing versus State, and I'll provide all the parties. Gouette versus State, and then some circuit court cases that address specifically sealing confessions and what the substance of a confession is, and then what can be released beyond that, where other courts have done that analysis. So if I may approach. Sure. And we can do a more full briefing on that if the court would like, once we're able to.
Thank you.
That's Times Publishing. And then this is a Supreme Court case that talks about a confession. That's Gouette. Then we have 3 circuit court opinions. State v. Lugo, State v. Thomas, that address, and then one more, State v. Cosma, that address these specific circumstances. Okay. Where there's, because this happens where, a statement is required to be released as a public record, and I'll provide those shortly. And courts have had to apply the McCrary and Lewis test to determine what portion of a statement is actually a confession, and a confession is narrowly construed under the public records law and under this case law. And the cases explain that. So our position obviously is we believe an in-camera inspection by the court is important and necessary, and that any public records exemption under Chapter 119 and also any weighing of Sixth Amendment rights requires the court to release as much as possible in this matter.
Thank you. We're clearly on the same page with the media. I did want to just quote from the Times Publishing case, if it helps, just clarify that when you are reviewing in camera to consider whether a statement is in fact a confession, there must be an acknowledgement of guilt of the essential elements of the acts or acts constituting the entire criminal offense. So that's what we're talking about, obviously analyzing whether a portion of the lengthy statement or video is a confession. As for the other materials that I heard counsel mention, just maybe that weren't Mirandized, that's where the test, the three-part McCrary test will come in, certainly in favor of access.
Anything else? All right, thank you, and I'll see you all June 21st. What's the state of the attorneys?
What is June 21st?
It's a status.
Okay, I'll get that for Palm Beach.
Okay.
Somebody will go.
You all have, each side has a number of lawyers, so I'm thinking that somebody can be here. Okay, we're in recess. Thank you.
Thank you.
No. Yeah, Schulte, good comments on that. It's one of the rare times that we see Nikolas Cruz in court again. And I don't know actually about his psyche evaluation or anything of that nature. It's a really good question. I know this time around, his lawyers were still kind of pushing for his confession to be kept under wraps. That's sort of what step they are in the process. So other than that, we're kind of watching and waiting to see what happens with that. But that was video from just a few moments ago down in Florida that it was originally live and I was watching it happen and then decided to play it back so you guys could see it. But right now there's an interesting kind of situation that you really don't see every day in Salt Lake County, Utah. Right now this is a video live of a car that has crashed into a Starbucks in Salt Lake County, Utah. Apparently, according to reports, one person is dead, multiple others injured. In fact, 3 critically injured is what they're saying in this car crash. So this is a Starbucks. You can tell it's sort of in sort of a strip mall type area. And police are saying at least 3 people in critical condition, maybe more. A man was driving a truck with 2 children inside and crashed and rolled onto that Starbucks patio. You can't exactly see it, but you can see the truck or whatever, the car that is mangled on its side. That is the vehicle that crashed into the building. This happened at about 10 a.m. That's Mountain West time, so that's Utah time. And the drivers and the 2 others outside of the car are part of the ones who went to the hospital. Don't know which fatality or who the fatality is at this time. But this is the scene we got going on right here, guys. Not something you see every day. Crews are still running to the scene. They're still gathering information. If we do have more on that, we'll bring that to you. So we'll leave you right here with those pictures. Nothing else really pressing coming in right now, other than the fact that we're still talking about the Caps' big win last night. Stanley Cup champions here in DC. Super exciting. More to come on that parade for next week. They're hinting at sort of what day and time that will be, but we don't know for sure. When we do, hopefully it'll be a time we can stream that for you guys, have our cameras and coverage of it for you live. And also the death of Anthony Bourdain, a dichotomy of emotions here today. I was reading a recent post that kind of was resonant to me. And it was part of the fact that Anthony Bourdain was big in the Me Too movement. He was critical of the men who were part of that problem. And he said he scrutinized even his own history to make sure there wasn't that meathead type of male domination, male thought process in the restaurant industry. And he said, quote, "Why was I not the sort of person, or why was I not seen as the sort of person that these women could feel comfortable confiding in back in his career, in his long-time career in the kitchen as a cook, as a chef?" And he said, "I see this as a personal failing." He had empathy, insight, and courage that should stand as a beacon to other men grappling their own place in that Me Too movement. So an outspoken critic of some of these men that have been involved in that, and just in general, a renegade worldwide kind of bad boy traveler chef that a lot of people are posting about and talking about today. The day of his death, June 8th, this Friday, he was found in France in a hotel room by fellow chef Eric Repair. We're going to have more on that and more reaction from notables, chefs, and celebrities on the Anthony Bourdain death. But let's go back to this scene in Utah and see what they're gathering there. And we'll come back into the newsroom and have more of those tweets and stuff from Bourdain coming up shortly.
I bring my kids and sit there all the time. Buy them cake pops and things like that. They're so delicious.
The birthday cake pops, I love them. Yeah. Hey, thanks for sharing that. I'm glad we could put that out.
Yeah.
My daughter's in the office going, "What's going on in here?"
The cops are getting calls from national media wanting to know if this is like a
terrorist related,
malicious attack. Right. Obviously, there's zero indication of that whatsoever.
That doesn't happen here.
It's interesting. The plates are Montana, so it's out of the state vehicle.
Oh, interesting.
I don't know if you care about that at all.
I care about that.
I don't know that indicates anything at all.
Yeah, who knows? Could be a rental car.
Just the facts, man.
Just the facts.
You're the good guys, dude. That's what I like to do.
All right. Well, thanks so much for having that.
Yeah, of course. Lousy guy.
Thanks, I appreciate it.
Kids in the car with him. Probably you've been critical. They're okay with the hospital getting checked out. Killed the girl on the patio. Yeah. Hello. Yes. Yeah. Now I am. I'm still. Yes, there is. I'm trying to get that paperwork out of my parents. Yeah. They don't know exactly where. They're critical have something. So I might have to go over there now. Okay. I appreciate you following up. A neighbor of mine comes down here. They say that I moved, so I was not far away, so I came down here now. Actually, just getting me the leaves. Batteries on that. Right. Don't hit that button like Dan Pope does. Actually,
I do a lot of things that Dan Pope, or I don't do a lot of things that Dan Pope does.
Same. Approach these?
I'm going to in a minute.
Got to be a witness or a friend or something.
Mm-hmm. Because they're really. We got B-roll, right? Of them being sad.
I mean, I got it from the side, not straight on.
That's fine. Yeah, I wanted to do this first and then go sit down and just. That one girl though. Yeah. Yep. Testing, testing. 1, 2, 3. I can hear you. I did. And I think I'll just
people were out, and there were a lot of witnesses to what happened. Now, you just heard from one of the women who was inside the Sport Clip, which is right next to the Starbucks. She heard and saw a lot of things that she says is now going to haunt her for a very long time. Again, one person, we're told, is a woman who passed away here who was having Starbucks. Two people she was with also critically hurt. The driver of this truck, which we're told has Montana plates, the driver, we're told, is a male. He's also in critical condition. Two children inside of this truck also seriously hurt. Now, it's something that important to note here. Talking with firefighters who first responded on scene, we're told that many people stepped up when they saw this horrific crash into the Starbucks. They stepped up, they tried to get the children out of the vehicle. They also immediately responded to the injuries of a lot of the people, and I'm told that they made a difference while they were here. So we're going to continue to bring you updates throughout the day, both on air and online. Good for Utah.
All right, guys, thanks for hanging on with us. We are back in the newsroom here at Fox 5 Live. Thanks for watching our live stream here at Fox 5 DC in Washington. Happy and sad day at the same time. Caps win the Stanley Cup. So exciting. We're very excited to bring you all that coverage next week of the parade. We're still getting more finalized details as to when that is. Also, today, people reacting across the world, across the nation, to the death of Anthony Bourdain in an apparent suicide in France. We just got the word, actually, that one of our international sources was bringing down the video outside that hotel where his body was found unresponsive this morning. Unfortunately, due to the sources and where it comes from, we can't actually bring that to air based on the rights, unfortunately, but I'm sure later coverage and pictures will show what that scene is looking like right now in France. And also, in more of a hyper-local story, check out this chopper video right now in Fairfax County, Virginia. The chopper is just zooming out on this, unfortunately, but it is a pretty devastating car wreck on the side of the road, and you could see just pieces of the car, remnants of the car inside, and there is confirmed one fatality in this incident. You can see in that zoom out that this is a sort of very green, wooded area, slightly affluent area of Fairfax County. Police are on the scene. I believe the body is somewhere there, and they're waiting for the medical examiner to come. So again, raw, unedited video. We hope that this doesn't get too gruesome or anything, but we want to just show you this scene of this car wreck, and it is unfortunate that is happening right now in Virginia. But I do want to go back and, as we go through all these scrolls and talk about the influence that Anthony Bourdain had on not even just the food, culinary community in the world, but the creative community. He was really an artiste in his own right, and they talk about him as just being so raw and open and his honest self. And I'm seeing so many pictures and quotes pour in. And it's interesting to really see how he had an impact on so many people in so many different ways. And a testament to that is some of these tweets that I've gathered together. And they're not only chefs, but they're celebrities and sort of notables. And I want to show you those in this string of sort of tweets about people really overcoming the shock that it was to hear about his death this morning. And I'm definitely one of them as well. I think I'm going to be thinking about this for the whole weekend and reading more about his life and reading more of those cool, New Yorker articles and whatnot that were just sort of brief exposés on something that was important to him. And of course his shows, and No Reservations, and his most recent one, Two Parts Unknown on CNN. CNN coming out with their own statement this morning too, reacting to the news. But here are a string of some of the ones that I picked out to kind of show you guys what the reaction is and what people are saying. Check it out. And it really is such a sad way to kind of go into our weekend and end a Friday. I just encourage you guys to kind of pick up his original book, Kitchen Confidential, which I actually still have very close to my nightstand for kind of piecing out portions of it and referencing it. And definitely such an influence in that world, the culinary arts world, and like I said, the artist world at large, the creatives, the people who love to travel and experience and just really drink all up that life has to offer. It is quite a sad day with this news. So I encourage you to have a great meal this weekend and remember him and think about sort of how he's been an influence in these people's lives. We're gonna have more coverage of this as we continue on social, guys, and digital coverage does not end. So we're gonna be up on our Facebook page as well with, of course, the very special returning of the Washington Capitals back to the area. They're arriving at Dulles Airport coming up later this afternoon. So we're gonna make sure we have crews out there. We're gonna have that on camera for you. So if you're interested and you wanna see everybody cheering and everybody getting excited for the new Stanley Cup champions, check into our Facebook page. We're going to have that live for you. But we're going to close it out with this little sort of just memory of Anthony Bourdain, and hope that you guys have a great weekend and that we go into a happier week next week. And I'm sure we will have obviously the happiness and the camaraderie and the community of everybody coming together for the Caps parade on Tuesday, which we'll have more coverage of then. But for now, guys, have a great weekend, and I hope that you're able to, like I said, eat a great meal this weekend and hold your loved ones tight. And of course, would be remiss if I didn't mention, as everyone is talking about, how suicide is such an issue today, and that U.S. number to call if you or any loved ones need is 1-800-273-TALK, that National Suicide Prevention Hotline. With that, guys, have a great weekend, and we'll catch you next week.